Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Golden Astrologer Podcast. This is Deb McBride, and I am broadcasting from beautiful Escazú, Costa Rica, where it is Sunday, the 15th of November, 2020. And I have a little announcement to make. I will be starting a new class. I've been teaching a lovely bunch of women. There was the Opening Your Heart with Astrology class, and we just finished that. And now we're starting a new class next Saturday, November 21st, 11 a.m. Eastern Time. It will be an Astrology A to Z class. So we're going to start at the beginning of astrology and go through everything, the signs, the houses, the aspects, the planets, everything, so people can learn astrology. And if you're interested in taking this class, please go to my website, thegoldenastrologer.com, and go to book online, and you can scroll down and the announcement about it is right there, and you can pay and join and be part of our class. I'll also be sending a post about it out in the next day or so. So here we are on the day of the new moon in Scorpio at 23 degrees of Scorpio, and that happened shortly after midnight Eastern Time. And so this is a big, powerful new moon for lots of reasons. First of all, it's in Scorpio. It's always powerful and intense, and it's a good time to do a ritual and an emotionally significant ritual, and such as wishing for something or creating something or clearing something, because Scorpio is all about transformation. And one of the other things that it's making a very nice aspect to those Capricorn planets. So it's got a lot of power from, Saturn and Jupiter and Pluto. And it's sort of in between, like Pluto's at 24 or 22, and then Saturn's like at 26. So it's in there. This is 23 degrees of Scorpio. And it's making what we call a sextile, a 60-degree aspect. And that's a smooth, opportunistic aspect. That's where you have opportunities to do things. So, this is a very, powerful new moon, because it's, Scorpio, and it's taking this aspect. It has this aspect to the other planets, and it's been, it feels very strong. The energy feels very strong. It was very busy this morning for a Sunday. I had all sorts of messages and all sorts of contacts and all sorts of things going on, and so it was very intense. Nothing bad, but just like busy. And so that was part of it. Now, the other part, and something very important about this new moon, is that it opens the eclipse period. Now, this is not an eclipse. This moon is not an eclipse, but there is an eclipse in 2 weeks on the 30th. So 15 days from now, there is an eclipse, a lunar eclipse, full moon at 8 degrees Gemini. The sun will be in Sagittarius. So, yes, this is the lunation that comes directly before the first eclipse. So therefore, this swings open the door to the eclipse energy. Now, if this morning was any indication of how intense things are going to be, then I think that we're going to be very busy these next couple of weeks. And so you should brace yourself for this. It's probably going to be a very busy eclipse season, and it is something very profound and powerful. And so I suggest that you think about, how you are, using this energy and where it is in your chart. There's Sagittarius and Gemini, and you should think about like how all of this sort of fits into your life. So that's part of it. That's a big deal. When we start getting into the lunations that open the doors for eclipses, we start to feel the eclipse energy starting to come on us. And, it starts off slowly now, and then it'll build up to when the eclipse is on the 30th. But that will be after Thanksgiving in the United States. And one of the things that's so important about this is that, it's it seems like it's only a short time since we had eclipses, and it is, because we had eclipses back in June and July. And so you think July to November, that's only 4.5 months or so since there's been an eclipse. Yeah, because there were 3 eclipses back then, and we're only going to have 2 now, so this is okay. But remember when we started this year, I said there were going to be like 6 or 7 eclipses, and yes, we had 3, 4, 5, 6. There'll be 6 eclipses. The last one of last year was the 26th of December, so it was sort of grouped in with my year ahead video, so there were 7. But we're having 6 eclipses this year, and so this is eclipse number 5 that comes on the 30th, and so we are looking at a powerful experience as far as our eclipse energy and what comes next. So that's part of this. So now, where are we today? We are at the new moon, and we have a Venus-Pluto square. So if you are a Venus-Pluto person, you might be feeling this. And if you are a Venus-Pluto square person, if you have that, happened this afternoon. It was 2:39 p.m. Eastern Time. And we are in a definitive, Venus thing now. Venus is in Libra, and remember what the planets have been doing. So there was Mercury, and there was Mars, and there was the Sun, and each of them going through Aries or Libra. In the case of everything but Mars has been in Aries, and everything else was in Libra because that was Libra time of year. Everything squared the Capricorn planets. So here we are. Venus is now doing the same thing. So today, since we had Jupiter-Pluto on Thursday, Jupiter and Pluto are very close together. So Venus is squaring Pluto today, and will be squaring Jupiter really at 12:30 a.m. tomorrow. So like as soon as it becomes tomorrow Eastern Time, it's 12:30 a.m. So now tonight here it'll be 11:30. So I'm getting both of those aspects today. Venus square Jupiter, Venus square Pluto, and then later in the week when we get into Thursday. Yes, that's when Venus will be squaring Saturn, and then she'll be finished with the Capricorn planets. She's not coming back because she's in Libra, leaving Libra, and Venus will move into Scorpio on Saturday. So what does this mean? Relationships, things a little bit sticky, things a little bit complicated, things a little bit unusual as far as relationships are concerned, and how we use this energy in our relationships, how we, plunge forward in our life with, and I don't just mean intimate relationships, family relationships, friendships, everything, people around you. How does that work? And how is it feeling? And you may feel some stress or tension or intensity in your relationships in these next few days. So just bear that in mind as we go through the week and we start to experience the square of Venus. And I think probably the hardest one there is the Venus square Saturn, which is going to be Thursday the 19th at 6:28 a.m. Eastern Time. So, you'll probably start feeling that on Wednesday and Thursday. And one of the things that you just want to be aware of is how you're treating people, how you're treating yourself, how you are, adapting, in these current times, in these weird times. It's been like our relationships have been different, and our relationships are not what they were. And we don't see the people we used to see every day. We see them differently, and we are having a whole other, experience of people and relationships and stuff like that. So it's sort of looking back also, because it's not like Venus didn't affront these planets earlier in the year. When Venus was back in Cancer, she opposed these planets. And so, it took a long time for her to get into the sign of Cancer because she was retrograde in Gemini. And so that was more like in August and all. So, but this is, an exciting month. Again, we're having another exciting month because we are, we just had Jupiter Pluto on Thursday. And what happened? Is anything new happening for you? Is there powerful stuff going on? We had Mars go direct on Friday. So that's been really very interesting and powerful too, because people start to feel their lives move forward. And all of this is just sort of, one step at a time, while the planets move through this sort of danger zone in Capricorn. And I don't mean for it to sound hard, but it's one of those things where, we're navigating a lot. We had to navigate the Mars direct. We had to navigate the Jupiter Pluto a little bit, and that was the last Jupiter Pluto that we had. And as I talked about last week, this was us shining the light in the closet, and it is a powerful and can be for the good aspect. So I always encourage people to be manifesting something. So we've had day after day of powerful aspect. Thursday Jupiter Pluto, Friday Mars went direct, and then really last night, as far as I'm concerned, where I live, it was the new moon. And so this energy, there's so much energy flying around right now. And so we're trying to kind of keep sane and move forward and get things, get things the way we want them, and try to move forward with all of our energies. So, so now we have Venus Pluto, and tomorrow we'll have Venus Jupiter, and then Thursday we'll have Venus Saturn, and then on Saturday Venus will move into Scorpio. So she's leaving Libra. She's in her own sign, so she's strength. She's at strength, although Saturn's in its own sign. So Venus coming to connect with this. It's a little bit of a battle. Venus is like, well, I'm ruling the skies, and Saturn's like, no, I'm ruling the skies. And so this is, Venus and Saturn is when we feel either unloved, or we feel unsupported, or we feel lack in some way. So we must continue to keep our spirits in a good place. Keep our spirits in a good place, and not allow ourselves to get dragged into mud or anything like that during this. Relationships could be a little sticky this week. So just try to move through it. So far, I think the energy's been pretty good. And as we approach the eclipse, things are going to start to feel more intense. So just take one moment by one moment, and one breath by one breath, and keep moving. So then, in the meantime, Venus has her own. She's obviously got a big agenda this week, but Mercury moved back into Scorpio last week. You'll remember we talked about that. And so Mercury is now going to oppose Uranus again on Tuesday, which it has done before. So remember, there was that first week in November where Mercury was with Saturn all week, and then it had reached a point, back in October 19th, in fact, where it was opposing Uranus because it, retrograded back. So this is really the third time that Mercury is going to oppose Uranus, because it opposed Uranus, it went retrograde, it opposed Uranus again, and now it's going to oppose Uranus again on the 17th of November. And so if you feel that there is something, conversation you're having, and there was something intense or profound going on for you, then a lot of things might come up as dialogue for you, because that's what Mercury does, and especially Uranus. So things are really going to, come forward a lot this week, and you may need to have dialogue and conversations with people that you are not used to having. And whatever story was going on, with the end of September into October and until now, whatever story you've been hearing during the Mercury retrograde. Now Mercury is forward, but it's going to make that aspect to Uranus in opposition, which is tension. Now, Uranus is also the planet of genius and brilliance and epiphanies. And so when Mercury meets with it, we can have these brilliant ideas. Things can really be, very powerful and connected, and we can connect with people, and we can have synchronicities happen in our life. So I always like to think of Uranian aspects as time for synchronicity, time for magic, time for, a breakthrough. And whatever has been maybe stuck. Now, there's been a lot of stuck energy because Mars was retrograde. And now that Mars is moving forward, it's like we can all start to move forward in a way that is positive for us. So it's very good that, we can attach ourselves to something positive now, It's been complicated. It's been very complicated. Every week it's something. Every week it's something. Last week it was Mars going direct in Jupiter and Pluto. The week before, Mercury was with Saturn all week, and Mercury was going direct. So it's every week there's a story. And every week I say to you, well, what chapter, what's this chapter about? And there are so many stories going on simultaneously that we have to keep track of them. So there's the big stories. There's the stories around the pandemic. There's the stories around, politics people have, I know, in the United States and in other places. There's the story around, your personal life. And so what they all sort of are interwoven with each other. What has been happening for you that you need to deal with? Like where do you have to clear things up? Where do you have to feel like secure in your life? Because Venus is about money too, as well as relationships. So where do you feel security in your life? Where do you feel friendships, relationships, where they may be challenged? So when we are working with this energy, we just have to, Venus and Libra likes to keep the peace. And so she doesn't like it when she gets challenged by Pluto and Jupiter and Saturn all within a few days. It's she just wants to do things peacefully. And so that's part of it. Now, the other thing is that the sun is going to change signs at the end of the week. And I can't believe how quickly the time is going. It seems like every week I start off, it's like, okay, it's Monday. And then like in a blink, it's Friday. And so Saturday afternoon Eastern time, the sun will go into Sagittarius. So now we're going to move from the skies, the sun being ruled by Pluto and Mars, to the sun being ruled by Jupiter. And of course, Jupiter's in Capricorn with those things. And so we tend to think that Saturn is really kind of ruling things because everything's pointing back at Capricorn, When Venus goes to Scorpio, that points to Pluto. Where's Pluto? Capricorn. Who rules Capricorn? Saturn. Where is Saturn? Saturn's in Capricorn. Okay. The sun's going into Sag. So that's Jupiter. Jupiter's in where? Capricorn. Okay. Who rules Capricorn? Saturn. So where is Saturn? Saturn's in Capricorn. So even though like Venus is in her own sign right now, when she goes into Scorpio, that's going to shift. So she's speaking for herself right now. She's in Libra. She's speaking for herself. And Mars is speaking for itself. And Saturn is speaking for itself. And Neptune is speaking for itself because they're all in their own signs. You'll remember last week we had that interesting configuration, or 2 weeks ago, or a week and a half ago, where the moon was in Cancer. And Saturn's in Capricorn, and Venus was in Libra, and Mars is in Aries, and everything was in Cardinal. And that was another big aspect we had at the end of, the end of the week, 2 weeks ago or so. It was really something unusual that never happens. And because those things all being in those signs all at the same time is rather profound. So this is not something that happens. And so that was yet another experience where we were getting triggered in many ways. So that's what we're doing. So when we move into this week, we're moving in with some intensity with Venus, Pluto, Venus, Jupiter, and Mercury opposite Uranus. So every day this week there's a little something, and so we get through it day by day. My advice is to keep your head. My advice is to not, start instigating any sort of arguments or anything in your relationships. Try to be sound and smart and focused. My feeling is that, we're getting closer now to things really starting to shift. And while the eclipses are going to be, Sag Gemini, because that's where the nodes are now, we are getting to a place where, the Saturn and Jupiter are getting ready to leave Capricorn. And, by the 17th of December, Saturn is going to be in Aquarius, and by the 19th, Jupiter will be in Aquarius, and then they make that conjunction. So we're gearing up for that, and if you're starting to feel things shift a little bit, and Capricorn to Aquarius, that's a different energy. It's not like, Capricorn is conservative, Aquarius is not. And so you may be feeling that shift. Now, one of the things that's so important here is that, Saturn is going to leave its own sign and not come back for, 28 years or so. So Saturn is very strong in its own sign. And one of the things, again, we're going to, every week we have the moon go into a cardinal sign. So right now, the moon is in Sag, but on Tuesday, the 17th, at 11:35 a.m., the moon moves into, and that's Eastern time, 11:35 a.m., the moon moves into Capricorn, and there it will stay until Thursday. So remember, every week, those planets get triggered. And so now that the moon will go into Capricorn, then there'll be 4 planets in Capricorn. So the moon will be there, and Jupiter will be there, and Saturn and Pluto. So then, as things happen, and since those are at the end of the sign of Capricorn, it's Thursday that gets all of the aspects, okay? So it's Thursday where the moon triggers Pluto, Jupiter, and Saturn. And it will be in the wee hours, Eastern time, when it gets to Pluto and Jupiter, but then Saturn gets the moon at 10:51 a.m. Eastern time. Now, what's interesting is, remember what I said, Venus is squaring Saturn on Thursday. So now there's this relationship between the goddesses, which is Venus and the moon, and Saturn, which is, the restriction, the duty, the discipline, the patriarchy, the rules, the regulations. What's happening is there's this incredible, thing that happens where the moon is going to come in and conjunct Saturn right after Venus has been squaring it. So Venus is still going to be, it's not like Venus makes the square early that morning and then like, okay, I'm done. It's now we're going to have some possibly female tensions on Thursday. So if there's women in your life that may be a little bit intense or problematic, I suggest you don't have any confrontations with them on Thursday. And so just be well aware of that. And what again, navigation. There's being consciously aware and also just taking care of yourself, because we're still feeling the effects of the Saturn-Pluto from earlier this year. Jupiter and Pluto made the conjunction at 22 degrees. That's where the Saturn-Pluto was. That's where they conjunct in January. So Jupiter and Pluto brought back a memory, and now you're hearing more things about the virus again in the States, and it's getting to be closer to colder winter weather, and people are starting to think about, hunkering down and taking care of themselves. And so when we have like these planets getting triggered again, as they will this week on Thursday, and Venus has been joining them, so this is another one of those tense weeks where we have to navigate around what's happening. The energy should get freed up when the sun moves into Sag, because it's a lighter energy. It's becomes that holiday season energy, because Sag is all about like preparing for holidays. And the interesting thing is, though, that we are still having to contend with all of the all of that Capricorn energy, and a weird holiday season that's not going to be normal. Who knows how people will choose to celebrate. But there is something very profound happening this week, where we're shifting out of like the Scorpio energy for the sun anyway, and into Sag, and all that intensity happening on Thursday. So I think that we have to keep our heads, and we're not there yet. We're not there where we're freed up from this like blockage of energy in Capricorn. We're not getting all the answers we need. We're in the process. And this is a process. It's been a process all year. Saturn Pluto is always a process. Thankfully, Saturn is moving on. Like, this has been a process of Saturn being able to move on and get out and get away, and that Saturn and Pluto are not going to come together again. But we feel like we're still dragging our heels. And Mars has not revved up enough yet to really make it feel like our lives are moving forward. So we have to hang in there. You may feel like you're having more setbacks this week because of the way Venus is treating those Capricorn planets. And then the moon comes in and just, rakes it all up again on Thursday. And so remember, when things touch those planets, that's when we feel like, gosh, I just want to go hide, or I just want to have some peace and quiet. And it's been a complicated year. And so last week, the end of the week, Thursday, Friday, we had, thank God, Mars went direct. I felt that. That was great. Jupiter, Pluto, yeah. But the moon was in Libra. and it was, triggering the Capricorn planets. So every time those guys get triggered, and I can't say this enough, we really are reliving this constant reminder that there's a new normal and an unknown future. And so when we start to look at this, we start to look at this very differently and try to contemplate what could be next, because we really don't know what's next. People say, well, when things go back to normal, what is that? What does normal look like? It's a wild card at this point. Any sort of act of normalcy, or what normal would look like, is really kind of a question. And we have to be okay with that. We have to be okay with it being a question for right now. So in the coming week, be as pleasant as possible. Don't stir up trouble with people. Don't encourage disharmony, because Venus in Libra loves harmony and serenity. And don't encourage a disharmony, because you might feel like, a little grumpy. Last week we got grumpy with Venus opposite Mars. But what we're not wanting to have happen here is that we don't want to rub salt in the wounds. We don't want to cause problems. We want things to be more aligned, and this is going to be really the last time, there's a quick passage of one of the, except for the moon, the inner planets, there's a quick passage. Like there was the sun, boom, 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 hitting those planets. There was Mercury, boom, 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 hitting those planets. Now it's Venus. This is, Mars is going to come back, but not until mid-late December. And Mars will only hit Pluto and then deal with Saturn and Jupiter once they're in Aquarius, and Mars is in Taurus. That's not till next year. So get through this week, see what's on the other side of it. Once the sun goes into Sag, we start to get more optimistic. We, cautiously optimistic because Jupiter is in Capricorn. But so the cautious optimism at the end of the week, just take this one moment at a time, one step at a time, and don't allow yourself to get bogged down in relationship nonsense, okay? That's the best thing you can do this week. Stay out of the triangles. Stay out of people's way. Stay out of things that you know could be trouble if you step in them. Don't allow yourself to get entangled in a web of confusion in people's, attitudes. So that's the big theme of the week. And get ready for the eclipse, which is going to be the 30th. So you'll start to feel that energy. If you're like me, you felt things get really intense this morning after the new moon. And now we are officially in what is known as the eclipse period, although the eclipses have not started yet. So that's it for the week. Once the moon leaves Capricorn Thursday, it will leave 3:25 p.m. and go into Aquarius. And it's interesting. It's going to be in Capricorn from Tuesday morning, all day Wednesday, to Thursday morning when it goes void at 11:30, and then it will be void until that 3:25 p.m. when it goes into Aquarius. And then it's actually void on Friday, 7:49 p.m. So and then all day Saturday void. So there's not a whole lot of fixed energy going on just yet. So the moon going into Aquarius is going to be, first of all, a blast of air sign as Venus is leaving, getting ready to leave an air sign. So we'll have a little air at the end of the week. And it's a very short period before it goes void, and then it doesn't go into Pisces till 11:06 on Saturday night. So it's basically an all day void moon on Saturday the 21st. So that's the week, and I hope you have a beautiful week. If you need to reach me, you can reach me info@thegoldenastrologer.com. My Instagram is The Golden Astrologer. My website is thegoldenastrologer.com. If you'd like to join our class, it is starting next Saturday, and we've been planning it for a little while, actually. And it's going to be like basic astrology for 10 weeks, and then we will see where we're at, and then we go into predictive astrology. My Twitter is @DebAstrology, and please, if you'd like a session with me, just go to book online to my website and sign up. Thank you so much for listening. Gratitude to each and every one of you. I wish you a beautiful week.